Hello, welcome to the Multilingual Parenting Live Q&A. If you don't already know me, I am Rita Rosenbach. I am the author of Bringing Up a Bilingual Child and the founder of multilingualparenting.com, as well as this group that the live QA is broadcast in. Today, I will be answering 4 questions that have been sent in previously. If there are any questions in the comments, I will also pick those up. And the questions I'm answering today are from, let me just take a look, Nayara, Alicia, Jessica, and Charmaine. So I will start with Nayara's question, which is as follows. She's got a 4-year-old daughter. She speaks Spanish with her daughter. Dad speaks Italian, and the daughter visits a Basque school. And she understands all languages perfectly. However, she only responds in Spanish to her father. He has always spoken Italian to her, but at the age of 4, she's yet to answer him in his language, in Italian. This is very normal. It sometimes takes quite a while before a child gets ready to answer in a second language, although parents are speaking 2 different languages. I don't know, maybe she has spent more time with you, so she's more used to communicating with you, Nayara, or she just has had more exposure. I can imagine you living in Spain that this would be the case. She will be surrounded by Spanish via TV and also in the community, while the only Italian exposure comes from her dad. You're in a great place as she understands Italian, so that's a fantastic, good start, and it's just to get her across the threshold of daring to speak. Sometimes it takes, especially shy children, a bit longer to start speaking because they are more concerned about getting it right, while more extrovert, outgoing children might just start using language as soon as they know a few words. But what I would do, I actually came across a very similar situation just the other day. That was an English father in Sweden who had been speaking only English to his son for, it was 4.5 years, and the son was yet to answer him in English. He only answered in Swedish because he knew that his daddy also understood Swedish. So what the daddy did was he had a discussion with his son and asked him that, why don't you answer? I know that you understand everything. Why don't you answer me in English? And the daddy, when daddy asked that, and the son said, well, I don't know it as well as you do. I might make mistakes. And then the son's father said to him, well, I don't mind. I would be happy for 1 single word. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just I would be so proud and so happy if you just used English with me. And after that, it changed. The situation changed. Of course, the son didn't start to speak perfect English, but he dared to start, and that is the crucial thing. just getting this start, enticing the child to start speaking, even with single word sentences, just anything. That is the most important thing to get the minority language going. If it can be, if you ask a child just says, I don't want to. Sure, clearly the child doesn't want to. So then it's a case of going underneath and finding, so why don't you want to ask? So, and then you could ask, well, in which situation would you want to speak, or what should happen, or what should change so that you would like to speak my language? So just trying to find out what the exact reason is and then addressing that. So that would be my recommendation. If Daddy has spoken Italian only, it will happen. One day it will happen. It's just to have the patience and the belief and the commitment to continue speaking the language, and it will happen. One day the child will answer. Sooner, if you can find ways of making your Nayara, your daughter, want to speak Italian. She might. You can't bribe a child to speak, but you can kind of make it more appealing to them. So you can't compel a child to speak a language, but you can make it compelling for them. So that was Nayara's question. Next, I have a question from Olisha. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Olisha. And she has a daughter who by now is 11 months, closer to a year, because it's a while since you sent the question in. And Olisha speaks Russian, and father speaks English, and there's all, as they live in the UK, and they also spend time with Daddy's extended family, so there's a lot of English. But Olisha is also fluent in Russian. Sorry, in German. Russian is the language she speaks at the moment, and in German, and would like to introduce that at some point as well. Yes, you can do that at any point when you want to introduce it. What I would recommend you to do is start with something like songs or rhymes, and something that's fun. Even if she doesn't, she's one, she won't understand it, but just the action of using the language in a situation like a song or a rhyme or some game, as long as the situation is fun and interesting, then she will also be okay with the language, although she doesn't understand it. What you can do also is to introduce a specific toy. I love hand puppets, actually. I have one here which I can show you. It's in no way typical German. I think he might be a bit stereotypical French, and he can speak only French. I might change his clothes at some point and make him speak some other language as well. You know what I mean. So bring in a toy that speaks only a certain language, so that in that way you can even switch between two languages, because the child identifies the language with the toy. You can also at some point when you introduce a bit more of the language, you can choose certain other activities or certain days. So this is, if you look on my site for time and place strategy, family language strategy, you will find different ways of how you can teach two different languages to your child. my good friend and fellow family language coach Maria Babin. On her website, you can trilingualmama.com. You can find a post which is about a language corner. So you can create a language corner in your home, where you put everything German in there. So when you are there, then you speak German. That's one way. And you won't, and don't worry, you won't confuse your daughter. She will, as long as I don't recommend saying like one sentence in Russian and then the same sentence in German. I do not recommend that kind of approach. I don't think that's constructive. It's better to keep them separate in a way, so a child can learn, right, okay, that toy always speaks German, or when we are in this place we speak German, or when we do this activity it's German. So identifying something with the language and not just switching randomly. So that was Alicia's question. Please do, if you don't happen to be online, you can always add follow-up questions in the comments. I do keep an eye on them and answer them as well. The next question is from Jessica. Let me just make sure the comments work. So I'm just typing myself. Yes, they do. Right, okay. The next question is from Jessica. And she's from a German-American family. They live in Germany. She is bilingual, German and English, and as the German is their family language. Father speaks German with their 2-year-old daughter. She always speaks English except when they're in public, because Jessica would like to teach her daughter that when you're in a mixed group, you speak the language everyone speaks, in our case German. Fair enough. Sometimes I absolutely agree that you should never make someone feel like they are excluded by using a language that they don't understand, but I feel you can still speak English with your daughter and translate whenever necessary. But of course, this is up to you. If you feel strongly about that, then that's fine. So you're looking. So your query is, Jessica, about you're worried that she's not getting enough English exposure. I take from that she might go to nursery, and so she's not spending the whole day with you, because if she were to spend the whole day with you, she would have enough English exposure. But if that case that you're working and this is where your worry come from, it's not clear from your message. You say that you do live in a strong English-speaking community thanks to the university, but both you and your husband are more introverted and do not feel comfortable meeting up with strangers, right? So I understand that not everybody is happy to just walk out and get to catch up with people and ask, hey, can we get together? Can our children play together? It's not an easy thing to do. However, if you do want to increase the English exposure, you need to find that from somewhere. Either if you can spend more time speaking English to her yourself, or then through someone else. And so there is, in some way, in some way. Hi, Maria. Yeah, we can put it here. So in some way you need to find the time. If you do not want to reach out to other English-speaking families, then consider what would work for you. Could you, for example, invite an English-speaking person to your home and spend some more time with your daughter? Could you, let's say, you mentioned that you live in a university community. I'm sure there are students who have English as their native tongue at that university. Find them at most universities, and then you could you perhaps see if you could find a native English speaker who would sometimes pick your daughter up from nursery and play with her, or come to your, or anything, any such arrangement. Because if you do not have time to spend more time with her, then it needs to come from somewhere else. And if you do not want to go out and reach out to other families, then you need to find a different option. I would also recommend that whenever possible, visit US or another English speaking, come to the UK. That's where I am now. So she gets as much as possible immersion in the English language. That was Jessica's question. Don't have any questions in the comments, so what I will do, I'll take the last question for today, which is from Charmaine. Charmaine and her husband have lived in South Africa. They have raised the daughter, who is now 3 years old, monolingual in English. They both do speak Afrikaans, both Charmaine and her husband. She just checking why the choice. So Charmaine has always wanted her daughter to be bilingual, but she didn't want to risk her mother tongue. Right, so from that I take that Charmaine, that you thought that introducing Afrikaans to your daughter would be a risk to the development of English. This is not true. Bilingual children grow up speaking both languages. Sometimes they might speak a bit later, but sometimes they're early. My own daughters, there's a huge, more than a year's difference between when they started to speak, almost 2 years difference actually, and now they're both fluent in their languages. It's a myth that bringing up a bilingual child means that a child's primary language or mother tongue, whatever you want to call it, will suffer. Yes, a child will usually prefer one language, and one language might develop quicker than the other. But as long as there is enough exposure to both languages, a child will catch up. And in all research that has been done, by the age of 4 or 5, children are bilingual children who have had enough interactive exposure are equally well in both their languages and are at the same level as monolingual children in their first language. So now Charmaine and the family lives in the US, and Charmaine read more about the advantages of being bilingual, and would love to pass on Afrikaans to her daughter. So the question is, would it be better for me or my husband or both to start speaking Afrikaans to her? I spend the most time with her at home. Would it confuse her if me or my husband suddenly switch languages? if both of us speak Afrikaans to her at home, would it affect her schooling and ability to make friends? We also don't want to alienate her in an English dominant environment. I understand your concerns, Charmaine. If you want her to grow up speaking Afrikaans, then my recommendation is that since you spend most of the time with her, that at least you switch to Afrikaans. You mentioned that she had been exposed to Afrikaans in the preschool in South Africa, so it's not completely new, and I presume she has, when you lived in South Africa, she was used to hearing Afrikaans. Children react differently. I switch the language I spoke to my elder daughter when she was 5, and she was usually a very soft and soft spoken and gentle child. But when I switched language to a language she had heard me speak, which was Swedish, and she heard it in the community, it was a very normal in the extended family. But when I switched with her, she point blank refused. She would not want to. She was angry with me. She didn't want me to switch language, and I understand that now, because of course the language I spoke to her was an intrinsic part of my relationship with her. So of course she would rebel if I tried to introduce something else. I tried in many different ways, making it enticing, and I was looking for the way to motivate her, and I finally managed to switch with the help of a little Swedish-speaking kitten. So if you go to the website and look for a Swedish-speaking kitten called Pricken, then you will learn how Swedish got place in our relationship, because the kitten was of course monolingual my daughter didn't want to upset the kitten by only speaking Finnish, so it was okay for me to speak Swedish to her. With that, I just wanted to demonstrate that yes, it might be easy. She might accept it because she's used to hearing you speaking Afrikaans, but she might also rebel, and then you need to work on it and find different ways of introducing it, and it might take a bit of patience, and you need to be committed to it, but it will work. You just need to find the right way. Please do get in touch if you're struggling with it. So no, you won't confuse her. Like I said, she might rebel, but she or not like it or refuse to speak to you, but you won't confuse her. She knows already there are different languages. She's been in a preschool where she heard it. And then you ask, could it affect her schooling and ability to make friends? She's got as you don't mention it, but I take it her English is already strong, so she will be hearing a lot of English in the environment, from the media, from other children, and in school in English. So you speaking Afrikaans at home with her will not confuse her. It won't affect her English learning. And the ability to make friends, you ask. Well, that's not a question I can answer with confidence that no, it won't affect her, because when it comes to children, anything that's different can affect how a child fits in, but it can be. It doesn't have to be the language. It can be the accent. It can be clothing. It can be length. It can be size. It can be habits. Anything that's different can make that happen. So can an additional language, but making sure that the child is proud of her language, understands the background, why she speaks a language, and also being proud user of the language yourself, because children learn what you do, not what you say. So if you behave in a way that shows that you're a proud Afrikaans speaker, that will pass on to your child. And the most effective way for her to learn Afrikaans is if you were to both switch to Afrikaans. I understand that your husband is not spending as much with her as you do, so it's really up to him whether he's comfortable doing it straight away, or maybe you can he can do it at a later stage when she's more used to speaking Afrikaans with you. That's also to do with family dynamics and how that works. With all these questions that I'm getting in, there isn't one. I can't tell you this is the one and only right answer. I can give you recommendation. That's why recommendations are what I think could work based on what I know. In more complicated situations, I prefer to work directly with families, because then I can understand all the different factors that affect the situation in the family home. But what has worked in one family might not necessarily work in yours. So keep that in mind, like when you read recommendations or asking groups, that what has worked in one family is perfect for them. Your solution might be different. And the last thing you mentioned, that you don't want to alienate her in an English dominant environment. I don't know where you live, what the environment is, but I would recommend you to look for nursery schools where there's a broad range of people from different walks of life, to have a better starting point. I wouldn't give up a language based on the concerns you have. Instead, be a proud Afrikaans speaker at home, and pass that on to your child. She will be so happy you did it, even if she might refuse right now. Later on, she will be so happy, because you are giving her a gift of being able to connect with the extended family and go to another culture and understand in a completely different way than if she were to speak English only. So those were my 4 questions for today. Keep them coming in. We answer them as and when. Some because there's been about a 2-month waiting time to get answers, I've introduced these live Q&As, and I will continue with them. But yes, keep them coming in, and keep on speaking the languages. You can do it. I know. I trust you. Okay, have a good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you're listening, and see you again soon. Bye. Bye.